Today is session 2 with my Mustang, 5-year-old bay gelding from Buffalo Hills, Nevada. I'm gonna get that down pretty soon, just not easy on the memory right now. This morning I came in here and kind of just did the same thing I did with him yesterday. Used the stick to touch him, had him reach out, sniff my hand a couple times. Probably spent about 10 minutes doing that before I started the rest of the training horses. And now he's gonna have his main session. So what it's gonna look like is I'm just gonna show you guys like kind of the meat of it. I'm gonna do maybe 10 to 20 minutes with him and then take a break, do some computer work, do some more stuff. So it is going to be broken up. I don't know how many videos this will go into, either 1 or 2, but I hope you guys enjoy. Good boy. So I want to be a little bit careful about this one facing up just because I kind of already have a little bit of a gauge for him, and he's more of a, I guess, I don't want to necessarily call him aggressive. I would think defensive is the more correct term to use. Good boy. As you can tell, he still does not care all that much about this stick, where it touches him on his body. He's most concerned with me. So just to start and warm up here, I'm going to release and let him know that that was the right answer. And again, I'm going to offer my hand out to him in case he wants to reach out and sniff it. And I do love that I can get to this point, pretty much come up to him and do it immediately. Something else that was pretty cool that happened was I rode Lynx by him, right by his pen, and he was not one of the Mustangs that likes to run and snort and spook. Instead, he actually came up to the fence and was sniffing us. So good things and bad things. Good for in the future. I shouldn't have too much difficulties getting him less concerned with people horseback. Bad is there's a little bit too much confidence there. Good boy. So I just want to be cautious of that. I expect him to be a little bit spooky of seeing a rider on a horse, and he really was not all that concerned. And I do want him to know he has the option to walk away and leave. I'm going to push him back up to that corner just so you guys can see him. Good boy. Because the alternative, if he doesn't feel like he can walk away and leave, is either shutting down or coming at me. And for this guy right here, I think his answer would probably be to come at me, just from feeling trapped and being a little bit more defensive. So I definitely don't discourage him leaving and walking away if he feels like it gets to be too much. He's got to have that option. Good boy. And he has given me some really good releases where even when I'm next to him or walking away, he'll do some good looks and chews. Good boy. Good. So what I want to work on first with him is duration of me holding my hand out. I'm not just going to retreat after every time he smells it now. Good boy. I'm going to wait for him to soften and maybe look at it a couple times, and then I decide to take it away. Because sometimes they get in the habit of, okay, great, I looked at it and touched it once, then they're going to go away, and then raising that bar and expectation never really happens. Good boy. So like right here where he's turning and sniffing and looking at me, I'm not going to remove it immediately. I might even move my lunge stick around some and pet him and touch him with it. Good boy. I like that that duration was longer. Good kid. I'm going to try to work with him in this corner, so I zoomed in some instead of having to zoom in the editing process. Good boy. Good boy. I know, my hands probably smell like blueberry granola bar. I hope that's a flavor that you like, not something that makes you upset. Good boy. I really like working them on this farm because they get exposed to all of the things. Of course, there's situations where I'm going to be a little more cautious, like the side by side is going by right now with the jump cart on it and the spreader on it rather. So you might be able to hear that on my mic, I'm not really sure, but I'm not gonna do anything new to him at that point, but it is good for him to be able to tolerate and take new things in as we're doing this repetitive behavior. Good boy. And I do, just because he has been one that like kind of stomps and picks up his front foot at me, I will watch that hind end if he starts kicking or thinking about offering anything goofy there, to make sure that I always have a stick in hand when I work with him, because if I do need to use it to keep my own circle and boundaries, I will. Good boy. I'm not going to assume anything bad of him. Good boy, just being cautious. Usually the ones that do a lot of like moving the head around and pawing with the front feet, or maybe like stomping down the hind feet, those are ones that, good boy, that you want to be a little bit more just aware of their body language when they're offering to do things like that. Because these guys are definitely quick, it's no joke, and you want to make sure that you're not making them feel trapped of any sorts. They just happen to feel more comfortable when they are not necessarily out in the open, and right now there's not any way for me to get them off the rail, so you might notice that my body is a little bit more in front of him than I would like it to be, because I want him to feel like he's got an exit strategy right now. So, good example, exit strategy. I want him to feel like he can move out to that side over there. Again, if they feel trapped, that's when they're gonna start to do things that aren't quite as easy and nice to deal with. Move up. Good boy. Right, that's when they'll start to run you over. And you may have seen that a little bit in his loading video with me, where, you know, if the pressure gets up there, he's running a little bit blind, right? So I want to try to not have him be at that point. One of the other indicators of one wanting to be possibly a little bit more defensive is them nipping at your hand. He has not yet done that. Not even really with the stick. He's not super curious with his mouth or anything. Good boy. Good boy. But yeah, it's important that they can feel like they have a way to exit. Right, and that was even less dramatic, and it's okay for him to do that right now. Of course, later on the expectations go up. It's not time to eat, good boy. The expectations go up, and then he can't always walk away. Sometimes he's got to deal with being a little bit uncomfortable, but you know, for his second session, I'm not trying to make him feel trapped in a box that he can't get out of if he feels like he needs to. Good boy. Good boy. So I think what my goal would be here before I move on to what I'm wanting to work on next is to be able to touch his face a little bit more. And I think the safest place for me to touch his face is probably straight on. I have rubbed it, good boy, some with the stick. He's really not all that reactive and sensitive, good boy, to the stick. I mean, it has not made him do much. He does respect it, where like if I'm pushing him forward with it, he's gonna move off of it. Good boy. But he's all right with it, kind of touching everywhere on his face. That's a good boy. So that's why I was hoping to kind of inch my way closer. And if you watched my other videos, you might know that sometimes I move my hand down on the stick to get closer to them and kind of create a little bit of a effect where I'm just like moving an inch or two each time. Similar to when you are approaching them, they face up, they look at you, you retreat. Same thing with my hand. I kind of slide it down this stick 1 or 2 more inches every single time until it's my fingers scratching his face. Good boy. When I was doing this with him yesterday a little bit, he was definitely getting more nervous. He sees the difference between my hand and the stick. Something else that I'm acknowledging right now is him lifting his feet up. Good boy. So I'll just give him a second right here to think. Good, and that's totally fine. Again, I love how those like moments of him getting worried are getting softer and softer, where he doesn't feel like he has to bolt out of there, but he has the ability to communicate and give an answer of what he wants. And again, me pushing him back up, how he's getting softer, he's realizing that I'm not really trying to make him run. Good boy. Good boy. He always seems to put me in a position where I'm in a hole and he's a little bit more on a mound. Good boy. Give you a second. Yeah, you definitely make yourself look way taller than you need to look. Good boy. So that was like kind of an accidental. He moved into my hand because he was picking up his own foot, but it didn't kill him. So I'm hoping he acknowledged and recognized that. Come back. Good boy. I know, the bugs. Good boy. Good boy. There we go. That was nice. And with a big old release. All right, I'm gonna give him a break for a little bit here. I'm probably gonna repeat this same exercise maybe 1 or 2 times, see if I can scratch a little bit more on his face, and then I'll give him an even longer break and I'll show you guys what we're gonna work on next. So every time you reapproach and kind of do a new session versus the little mini session you're working on, you kind of have to start over. Good boy. He's being really good about this though. Good boy. And I also try to be patient with him and give him the time he needs to itch his legs, whether it's bugs or frustration. Good boy. And then check things out like he did with the end of the lunge whip right there. I guess the reason I have it draped over is because it's a way for me to be a little bit more connected with him. Obviously, it's not going to stop him if he starts moving. My goal isn't to do that, but I can reach out and touch him a little bit more with it. I know there's bugs. When I walked away even further, he actually picked up his hind leg and started itching all the way back there. Yeah. Are you standing in ants, buddy? Boy. So my first goal, I guess you could say, aside from him accepting me in his bubble and kind of in his space, is going to be being able to touch this left side of him near his throat latch. High. 1, to be able to get that tag off eventually, and then 2, that is the side that I need to stand on to tie the halter. And I'm pretty confident I could get a halter on him. I don't know if it'll be today, maybe. There's not any super big rush on that because I do want to get him more comfortable with me being in his space before I introduce something that sometimes has a really dramatic response, like pressure. And actually the first time I introduce it to him, what I'm going to do is put that halter on with a lead rope and let him walk around, get used to that lead rope dragging, maybe step on it himself. I don't know yet if I'm going to let him do that in this pen or if I'll let him go into the round pen for it, because again, if he does get nervous or something from it, I would rather he have more space to move than feel like he's trapped and might want to run into a wall. I know, it's funky. You're doing so good. You need to itch your hind leg, huh? Yeah? Can I get one more good touch and then I'll let you do it? He says, yeah, I really need to do it right now. Okay, I'll let you do it right now. Go ahead, get your itches done. I almost wonder if I should pull those weeds out back there, if this is gonna be our little spot for connection, if I can help him out some. It's okay, it's the same thing. Good boy. Oh, I wanted to release right then, but then you turned your head more. Good boy, that was a good scratch.